Everyone knows the name Mount Everest. It is the tallest mountain on Earth. Standing at 8,848 meters above sea level, Everest has become the ultimate symbol of human achievement. Every year, hundreds of climbers from around the world travel to Nepal, hoping to stand on the roof of the planet. But hidden deep in the mountains between Pakistan and China, there is another peak. A mountain that is shorter than Everest. A mountain that has killed climbers at a far higher rate. A mountain so dangerous that climbers gave it a terrifying nickname, the Savage Mountain. Its name is K2. For decades, K2 has been considered by many climbers to be the most difficult and dangerous mountain on Earth. But why? How can the second highest mountain be more deadly than the highest? Why do experienced climbers who have already conquered Everest say that K2 is an entirely different monster? The answer is not just height, it is the mountain itself. K2 rises 8,611 meters above sea level, making it the second highest mountain on Earth after Everest. Located in the Karakoram Range on the border between Pakistan and China, K2 is surrounded by some of the most remote and harsh terrain on the planet. Unlike Everest, there are no comfortable villages nearby, no crowded base camps, no easy path where hundreds of climbers move together. Reaching K2's base camp is already an expedition. Before climbers even begin their ascent, they must cross glaciers, walk through narrow valleys, and survive one of the most isolated regions on Earth. The mountain seems to rise directly from the ground like a giant stone pyramid. Its slopes are extremely steep. Its ridges are sharp, and almost every route to the summit requires advanced technical climbing skills. This is the first major difference between K2 and Everest. Everest is higher, but K2 is harder. Mount Everest became famous because of its height, but K2 became famous because it fights back. When people imagine climbing Everest today, many imagine a long line of climbers slowly moving toward the summit. And that image is not completely wrong. Since the first successful climb in 1953, Everest has become increasingly commercialized. Today, climbers can hire experienced guides, use fixed ropes installed by professional teams, and receive support from Sherpas who know the mountain better than almost anyone. There are weather forecasts, communication systems, emergency plans. Of course, Everest is still extremely dangerous. The altitude alone can kill. At above 8,000 meters, climbers enter what is known as the death zone. The air contains only about 1/3 of the oxygen found at sea level. The human body begins to slowly shut down. Every step becomes exhausting. Simple decisions become difficult. A small mistake can become fatal. But Everest has something K2 does not: a relatively predictable path. Most climbers follow one of two main routes, the Southeast Ridge from Nepal, or the North Col route from Tibet. These routes have been climbed thousands of times. K2 is completely different. There is no easy side. Every road is dangerous. The most commonly used route, the Abruzzi Ridge, is a masterpiece of technical climbing. It requires climbers to navigate steep rock walls, unstable snow, dangerous ice sections, and unpredictable weather. One mistake does not mean turning around. One mistake can mean death. But perhaps the most terrifying part of K2 comes near the top, a place known simply as the Bottleneck. Located around 8,200 meters above sea level, the Bottleneck is one of the most dangerous climbing sections anywhere on Earth. Imagine standing on a slope almost vertical, thousands of meters above the ground. Above you hangs a massive wall of unstable ice, a glacier that could collapse at any moment. Below you is a steep drop where survival is almost impossible. Every climber attempting K2 must pass through this area. There is no shortcut. The problem is that the Bottleneck is not dangerous because of one single challenge. It is dangerous because everything can go wrong at the same time. Extreme cold, thin air, falling ice, exhaustion, and unpredictable weather. A climber may be only a few hundred meters from the summit, Yet the mountain can still decide whether they return home. This is why K2 has always attracted a different kind of climber. Many people climb Everest because they want to reach the highest point on Earth. But many people climb K2 because they want to challenge the impossible. For decades, some of the world's greatest mountaineers avoided K2 completely. Even legendary climbers who had reached Everest considered K2 a much greater challenge. And history would prove them right. In August 2008, K2 experienced one of the deadliest disasters in modern mountaineering history. A group of climbers from around the world arrived with one goal: reach the summit. The weather appeared promising. The teams successfully climbed higher and higher. But near the summit, a series of small problems began to appear. A delay, communication failures, changing conditions, and decisions made under extreme pressure. Then disaster struck. A massive piece of ice collapsed. The route above the bottleneck became blocked. Several climbers were trapped high on the mountain. Some were forced to descend without knowing whether the path below was safe. Others were caught in the chaos above 8,000 meters, where rescue was almost impossible. By the end of that day, 11 climbers had lost their lives. The tragedy shocked the mountaineering world because it showed something terrifying about K2. Even experienced climbers with years of training could be defeated. The mountain did not need a storm. It did not need an avalanche. It only needed one chain of small failures. And at K2's altitude, small failures become disasters. But what exactly happened during the 2008 K2 disaster? And why do climbers continue to return to a mountain that has taken so many lives? Because for some people, K2 is not just a mountain. It represents something much deeper. A question humans have asked for thousands of years. How far should we go? To prove that we can? To understand why K2 earned its terrifying reputation, we have to go back to one of the darkest days in modern mountaineering history. August 2008. A group of climbers from around the world arrived at K2 with the same dream: to stand on the summit of the Savage Mountain. For many of them, this was not their first extreme climb. Some had already conquered other 8,000-meter peaks. They knew the dangers. They understood the risks. They had spent months, sometimes years, preparing for this single attempt. But K2 has always been different, because on this mountain, reaching the summit does not mean you have won. In many ways, the most dangerous part begins when you turn around and start going down. And that is exactly what happened in 2008. On August 1st, several international climbing teams began their final push toward the summit of K2. The weather looked promising. The skies were relatively clear. After weeks of waiting for the right conditions, the climbers finally had their opportunity. Slowly, they moved higher, step by step, meter by meter, toward a place where only a small number of humans had ever stood. The climb was exhausting. At this altitude, the human body is already fighting against itself. Every breath feels incomplete. Every movement requires enormous effort. The cold attacks expose skin. The thin air slows the mind. Simple decisions become difficult. But after years of preparation, the climbers continued upward. Eventually, several members of the teams reached the summit. For a brief moment, they achieved what they had dreamed about for years. They were standing on top of K2, the second highest mountain on Earth. A moment of victory, a moment that few people will ever experience. But K2 has a cruel lesson. The summit is only halfway. Because unlike many achievements in life, on a mountain, reaching the top is not the end of the journey. You still have to come back down. And descending K2 may be even more dangerous than climbing it. As the climbers began their descent, the situation suddenly changed. A massive piece of ice collapsed above the bottleneck. The dangerous section that every climber had to pass through became even more unstable. Parts of the fixed ropes were damaged. The route that had helped climbers climb upward was no longer reliable. A path that had taken hours to create could disappear in seconds. Suddenly, the mountain had changed, and the climbers were trapped in one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. At lower altitudes, problems can often be solved. A broken piece of equipment can be repaired. A tired person can rest. A mistake can sometimes be corrected. But above 8,000 meters, the rules are different. The human body is slowly losing its ability to survive. The brain does not think clearly. The muscles become weaker. The cold becomes more dangerous. And every minute spent in the death zone brings the climber closer to disaster. A broken rope is not just a broken rope. It can become the difference between life and death. A delay is not just a delay. It can mean losing the energy needed to descend. A wrong decision is not just a mistake. It can become impossible to recover from. As darkness arrived, confusion spread among the climbers. Some tried to find a safe way down. Some waited for better conditions. Some attempted to help others who were in trouble. But K2 creates a brutal reality. At extreme altitude, even helping someone else can put your own life at risk. Climbers often talk about teamwork and friendship. But above 8,000 meters, survival becomes a battle against time, against exhaustion, against nature itself. The mountain does not allow unlimited choices. Eventually, every person must decide, do I continue? Do I wait? Do I help? Or do I save myself? These are decisions that most people will never have to face. By the end of the disaster, 11 climbers from different countries had lost their lives. The tragedy shocked the entire mountaineering community because these were not inexperienced adventurers chasing an impossible dream. Many were highly skilled climbers, people who understood mountains, people who had trained for years, and yet, K2 still defeated them. The disaster revealed something important. The most dangerous thing about K2 is not one single obstacle. It is the combination of everything. The altitude, the weather, the terrain, the isolation, and the fact that one small problem can quickly become a life-threatening situation. But how much more dangerous is K2 compared with Mount Everest? The answer is complicated. Everest has more total deaths simply because far more people attempt to climb it. Since becoming famous in the 20th century, Everest has attracted thousands of climbers. Today, it has become one of the most well-known adventure destinations on Earth. There are organized expeditions, experienced guides, established routes, large support teams. But K2 remains a different kind of challenge. It is not just about reaching extreme altitude. It is about surviving an unpredictable and technical environment. For many decades, K2 had one of the highest fatality rates among the world's highest mountains. Historically, a much larger percentage of climbers attempting K2 died compared with Everest. The exact numbers have changed as climbing technology improved, but the reputation remains. K2 is still considered one of the greatest challenges in mountaineering. So why is K2 more dangerous than Everest? The first reason is technical difficulty. Everest is mainly a battle against altitude. K2 is a battle against altitude, terrain, and technical climbing. A climber on Everest may spend hours walking through snow. A climber on K2 may need to climb steep rock faces, unstable ice walls, and narrow ridges. Every movement requires precision. Every mistake carries consequences. The second reason is weather. The Karakoram Range is famous for unpredictable conditions. A calm morning can become a violent storm within hours. At normal altitude, bad weather is uncomfortable. At K2's altitude, bad weather can become deadly. A storm can trap climbers above the safe zone, and sometimes, waiting for better conditions is not possible. The third reason is isolation. Everest has become almost like a temporary city during climbing season. There are many climbers, many guides, many resources. K2 feels completely different. The mountain is remote, the environment is empty, and if something goes wrong, help may be extremely far away. There is no guarantee that someone will arrive in time. But despite everything we know about K2, people still return. Every year, climbers look at this terrifying mountain and make the decision to try. Why? Why would anyone willingly challenge a mountain that has taken so many lives? The answer goes deeper than adventure. It is something connected to human nature itself. For thousands of years, humans have been drawn toward the unknown. We crossed oceans without knowing what existed beyond the horizon. We explored the deepest parts of the oceans. We traveled into space, and we climbed mountains that seemed impossible. For many climbers, K2 is not about fame. It is not about becoming famous. It is not even only about reaching the summit. It is about experiencing a moment where everything unnecessary disappears. In everyday life, humans are surrounded by endless distractions. Money, technology, social expectations, problems that seem important. But on a mountain like K2, life becomes incredibly simple. You have one goal, one decision, one step at a time. Can you continue? Can you stay calm? Can you make the right choice? However, K2 also teaches a lesson that is easy to forget. Human ambition is powerful. It has allowed us to achieve incredible things. But ambition without respect can become dangerous. Nature is not an enemy to defeat. A mountain is not something humans conquer. We only temporarily enter its world. The mountain allows us to climb. And sometimes, it reminds us that we are still small. Perhaps that is the true meaning behind K2. It is not just a mountain, it is a reminder of human courage, a reminder of human weakness, and a reminder that some challenges are not about winning. They are about understanding. Mount Everest asks, can humans reach the highest point on Earth? But K2 asks a much harder question. Can humans survive when nature refuses to cooperate? And maybe that is why K2 continues to fascinate the world. Because deep inside every human being, there is a desire to explore, to discover, to stand at the edge of the impossible and ask, what if we tried? Sometimes that curiosity creates amazing achievements. Sometimes it creates heartbreaking tragedies. But it is also the reason humanity continues moving forward. Because every generation looks at the unknown and wonders what exists beyond it. K2 is not the tallest mountain, but it may be the mountain that best represents the relationship between humans and nature. A story of courage, a story of survival, and a story about the limits of human ambition. This is Enigma Files. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And behind every impossible journey, there is a story waiting to be discovered.